Hi guys, how you doing? Okay, week 4 already. Wow, time flies. I hope you guys are enjoying the class. I really am. I think we have a fantastic group here. I want to address a couple of things about our discussion boards. The one thing I'm noticing is that people aren't using proper salutations in their discussion boards. Please do. Just saying hello, Jack, or hi, Bob, or dear Bob, or even Bob, or whoever the student is, that it helps to keep things in order, so we don't in discussion board have like just these floating responses. I hope that makes sense, especially when it comes time to grading, because then I can see where the response corresponds to the initial post, etc. So just a greeting and a sign off are great. So, dear Bob, I love your image. It was blah, 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 blah. Thanks very much, signed Michael. Do you see what I'm saying? I think that really helps. I really do. So I'd like to see that moving forward. Plus, it's courteous and professional. Okay, next on the agenda, questions and discussion board. Oh, two things about discussion board, two more things. Number one, I'm noticing a few people are saying, I've noticed a couple of times this week, I've heard these comments like, okay, I'm just not getting the class here because I want to learn how to shoot, and we're doing all these writing and critique assignments. So where's the correlation? Here's the thing, guys. Okay, once you know your camera settings, it's on you to go out there and shoot. I can only show you the camera settings. I mean, and I can't be present in every single situation. So if you have the sunlight in front of you, I can't sit there and say, okay, this is what I would do. Change your ISO, change your aperture to shutter speed and the angle of the shot. I can do that as much as I can, but I can't be there to assist in every shot. So that's where experimentation comes in. So for those of you who are finding that there's two parts to the class. Okay, one is the learning the actual mechanics of the camera and how it works. And the other is just developing yourself as an artist and a photographer in terms of how do you talk about photography? What do you see? What do you experience? And are you able to communicate that effectively? And that, I think, is one of the really important things in this class. Very important for students to understand that an introduction to photography class is typically quite a bit of critique and quite a bit of expressing yourself and developing your ability to express yourself regarding what you see and how it makes you feel. Hope that makes sense. I'd like to see more of that. I mean, I look at the discussion boards and compare them to week 1, and I'm just blown away. Like, you guys are getting good, and I love it. I just love it. Okay, questions and discussion board. I'm asking questions of a lot of you in discussion board. I'm just not getting any responses, and that's up to you. I mean, I can't force you to respond to my questions. My questions are not. I mean, I suppose they could be. My questions, they're not really meant for you to. I mean, I would like to see you at least address them, only so I know that you understand what I'm saying. When I ask a question about your post, it's to help you advance your knowledge of either something that you said in the post or as a response critique to your post. Images chosen or images shot. So if I make a comment, it's kind of to get you to think about that. So if you don't respond to my questions and comments and discussion board, at the very least, just really think about them. I'd love a 1 or 2 sentence response just so I know that the wheels are turning. So if you do something in your shot or in your discussion board, and I say, hey, did you think about this, or what would happen if you did this? I'm trying to plant that seed so you can cultivate it and start thinking along the directions. Thinking along in the direction of what I was talking about in the initial post or the response post. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I think it's really important. Okay, let's jump to the class. Hey, portraits this week. A few of us did portraits last week, and it's awesome, man, because we have dogs and people and kids and everything, and it's so cool. I love it. So we're going to carry that on this week with a little bit more formal portraiture. So I think that the presentation itself, connecting with viewers. This is lecture 6. It's kind of important because basically what it does is it tells you how. Listen, if you're going to take somebody's picture, if you're going to shoot a portrait of someone, you have to have a rapport with them. I don't care if it's your wife, your kids, your animal. You have to have that subject be comfortable in front of you, because a portrait that is the subject isn't comfortable, it's so obvious. If a portrait where the cuff, however, a portrait where subject is comfortable, I mean, we can read right through into the soul of that subject, and that's the truth. So really, really think about how. I mean, I responded to Andrew's. I think I responded to one post just not too long ago when I was saying I did this series of portraits of my wife a couple of years ago, and they were done. Remember the post? You guys remember the post with the dog, the black and white with the side lit? And I think it was Andrew, but I can't remember for sure. But it was such a cool shot, and I used that technique to do a series of portraits of my wife. I converted them to grayscale and really puffed up the black, so the contrast was just black and white with shadow. It was so cool. The mask of the face. It was just really a cool technique. So that was one thing that I was talking about in experimentation with light, etc. So in that case. The discussion forum is talking about, controlling the camera, controlling the light, controlling the scene, and also connecting with the subject. Really important. Photo assignment is a portrait. Let's jump to the photo assignment. Here's the instructions. The assignment is a portrait. We build. Now think about this stuff, guys. This is really important. Okay, these are three things that you really have to consider when you're shooting your portraits. Exposure control, of course. Beautiful and flattering light. Okay, so we learned about light last week and what is flattering light and what is not so flattering in terms of a portrait. And if you want a refresher on that, go through the discussion board because I mentioned a lot in my responses about flattering light and how it affects the actual portrait. And then consider this. There's a few different types of portraits that you can shoot. A formal setting, prepared clothing, and setting. That means, like with my wife's example, she put on a black dress and we set her in I had lights set up. And it wasn't studio proper, but I set up a small studio in a upstairs hallway because I liked the way that the light and so anyways, I makeshift. It's a set setting, okay, prepared setting. Journalistic is as is. That would be something like this. Okay, that's just something that's shot. Okay, this is a setting. This was best set up. This was, I think, more of an impromptu shot. So that would be another form of portraiture. Action setting with the subject is performing a task. Let's say, for instance, a portrait of sports portrait, LeBron James at the foul line, a portrait of his face as he's shooting a foul shot. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, and then any mix that will accentuate the story. Okay, so think about that. Think about your lighting. Think about all of the above. All right, let's go back to the course, and then we have the photo assignment, which I just went through. Then we have the visual critique, of course. We have a quiz, and then we also have, let me see, we have a discussion. Oh yeah, discussion forum. We do, yeah, sorry, discussion forum. So here we have this is portraits, and this one, I'm gonna pop this open, and it's pretty simple. It just says, the portrait of Salvador Dali is one of the most recognizable portraits in history. Write down 3 adjectives. So it's asking you to go through that the same thing, but this time put it in high gear, folks. I mean, this is week 4. We really have some really good, solid stuff behind you here to really create this robust analysis. Okay. Now, and when I say analysis, don't just say I see black and white, some guy with his eyes wide open, and it's weird. That doesn't tell us anything. Tell us what it is. Hey, go out, do some research, find out who this person is. That might give you some clues as to why it's presented in this way. Think about it. Okay, let's go to the second discussion board. And this one, whoops, didn't mean to do that, but we can get there another way, like this. Okay, so your decision. Find an example of a portrait that strikes you as being stellar. And again, really, it's about expressing yourself. So share the image with the class and discuss the merits and flaws of the example. Make sure you comment on your peers and examples. Okay, something I want to address here, then I'm going to let you guys go. I want to keep this under 10 minutes. So when you post your work, especially if you're going to post inline, which is great, I recommend you post inline because it saves your viewer a click. Those of you who will post JPEGs, as attachments, you'll probably notice that you're not getting as many response posts as those students who are placing the image right in the body copy. It's really simple. It's because you're saving your viewer a click. And I know it sounds like nothing, but there's a lot of students are busy and they're going through these discussion boards. If they open up a couple windows, they might skip through to the next post. So keep that in mind. The other thing is watch your file size, guys. Really watch. I mean, you don't have to submit full res 300 PPI images. This is 72 PPI for them. We're on screen here. So really think about optimizing your images before you place them in for discussion or for grade. Think about it. Now, it shouldn't compromise the integrity of the photograph. Okay, you're not. All you're doing is reducing the resolution a little bit to accommodate on screen and to bring that file size down a little bit so that we can get them loaded and looked at quickly. Okay, any questions at all, guys? Here we are, week 4. Oh, wow, already. Wow, and we're approaching midterm here, so keep that in mind. And start thinking about your final portfolios and thinking about how some of the comments that I've made and some of your peers have made will accommodate your work as a body of work as opposed to a series of specific images. And again, we're thinking about final portfolio for the class. So think about that. And you really should start thinking in that direction right now as opposed to waiting. All right, guys, welcome to week 4. Everyone's doing fantastic. I love this class. I hope you guys do. And I hope you do too. And I'll see you guys in discussion board. All right, thanks.